Welcome back to the Nick Bartlett Show, everybody. It has been a little bit since I've spoken to y'all, and I'm excited to be back. And in all seriousness, we've had an absolutely terrible first week of Pac-12 action. It was pretty darn embarrassing, to be quite frank. The team should have performed better. With that being said, we'll move ahead, move forward, and get to the agenda. And on the agenda, probably gonna pull up my notes. So seriously, welcome back to the Nick Bartlett Show, everyone. If you're unfamiliar with the show, this is gonna be a Pac-12 show breaking down football, basketball, lots of hot topics around the conference, and just have a little fun, but trying to give you some quick water cooler information and maybe a little bit deeper dive on some stuff here. So again, welcome back, and I'm gonna pull up the agenda. What do we got here today, ladies and gentlemen? What notes was I taking at my day job? I mean, I wouldn't do that. Who would do that? Alright guys, so welcome back. Was on my notes. So today we are going to talk about the Buckeyes and the Oregon game. Obviously that's the biggest matchup probably in the Pac-12 this year. Definitely non-conference. We'll have to see how everything else plays out. But it should be a lot of fun to see what happens there. And Oregon obviously needs to respond after barely beating Fresno State, escaping. And that was, again guys, just embarrassing. The Pac-12 needs to play better. I don't know if people are trying to like sugarcoat stuff. Maybe I should save that for this show. Also in the introduction, so we're going to be talking about Oregon, Ohio State today. We're going to follow that with, I'm going to talk a little bit about UCLA's hot start. And as always, we're going to end the show with Bartlett's random topic of the day. And yeah, I said that super. I was like, Bartlett's random topic of the day. So thank you for tuning in as always, guys. And we're going to get right to some deep dive information here. And what we're going to do this week, instead of taking a deep look at Oregon, which, do they really even deserve it? Like, I mean, they barely beat Fresno State, guys. That was pretty freaking embarrassing. But what we're going to do is take an actual deep dive at Ohio State. So, sorry for the notes reader. I'm a Pac-12 guys. You guys know. You guys have been with me for a while. You guys already know that. So, for Ohio State, I did have to take a deep dive on the notes. Probably not going to be off the top of the head as much as I may normally do if you've been with me for a bit here. All right. So, first on the agenda, or second off, I guess that is. What's with me having right-clicking during these episodes, bro? I'll be right-clicking all day. That's just what we're doing out here. All right. So, again, obviously, it's the biggest matchup, non-conference, conference, however you want to view it. This is the game where the Pac-12 can really change their reputation, especially after that week. I mean, if Oregon can win, if Tuskegee can pull out a win against Michigan, and Cal maybe upsets TCU, things can change a little bit. But this is the one. If you go to the shoe and win, I think that's what they call it in Ohio State land. If you go to the shoe and win, you're changing things. You are changing the conference's reputation instantly. People forget about Fresno State. Well, I guess they beat Fresno State, but I didn't. People forget about other subpar performances. You beat Ohio State, you get it done. These are the Buckeyes. Respect them. National championships here and there. I don't know the exact years. They've been making moves for a long time, and if Oregon can pull this off, 9 a.m. on the road in Columbus, big ups for our conference. So we're going to take a look at the Buckeyes here. I'm pretty excited. My dad is from Ohio, so I'm not really a Big Ten guy myself, but my dad is from Ohio, so maybe a little love for the Buckeyes. So looking at the notes here, what I got first is one of the main concerns, if you like briefly follow Ohio State, one of the main concerns is going to be he's going to step up at signal caller this year with the departure of Justin Fields to the NFL. For those of you who don't know, Justin Fields is all Mr. Everything. He's amazing, and trying to replace him is essentially impossible. The best way I can think of him, he's a completely different player, but think of when Stanford tried to replace Andrew Luck back in the day. No matter who steps in to try and fill that void, it's just not going to be done. You know, I mean, whoever does it is going to be good, but they're not going to be able to take it to that next level, per se. So there are a couple options, and in the opener, freshman C.J. Stroud got the start. He threw for 294 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So it looks like he's going to be the guy this year for the Buckeyes. Again, had a solid performance in the opener. I believe they played and beat Minnesota. Wasn't a blowout by any means, which is something you'd probably expect from Ohio State. But they won. I mean, they won. So they won more comfortably than Oregon did. That's for sure. But the one thing with C.J. Stroud, I think that's his name, is he had like 13 of 22 completions in the opener. 51% completion rate. I'm making that number up. But I think that this is something that Oregon can really take advantage of because they probably have a better defense than Minnesota. And if he's throwing a couple incompletions here and there, it can throw the offense out of rhythm, throw it out of timing. And the Ducks have enough athletes. They're well coached enough to really make a couple plays, capitalize on a few opportunities, and hey, maybe keep the game close and pull it down the end. So that's going to be the one thing is his completion percentage wasn't good in week one at least. I mean, it is 1 week, but it was 1 week. You know what I'm saying? And that exact number, 59%. So 13 to 22 for 59%. And my main thing is that if Oregon can pressure him early and often, that's going to be the way to do it. You don't want to let a guy like this get comfortable. Ohio State obviously is talented players everywhere. We'll dive into that here in a second. But come on, like you have to pressure him. I may be getting a bit emotional over that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you have to pressure him. It's no joke. If you're going to let this guy stand, the receivers are going to get open. They're going to be smart enough to sit down in zones and really capitalize, put up big plays, and really end the Ducks' day probably before it starts. So you must pressure Stroud. Again, if that is his name. Is this Stroud? Yeah, it's still Stroud, guys. Still CJ Stroud. So at the other skill position players, the Buckeyes feature Mayan Williams, a halfback. He had 9 carries for 125 yards and 1 touchdown in the opener. It was thought before the season that Master Teague III was going to be the guy for the Buckeyes. Didn't do much in the opener against Minnesota. Limited carries. I think he had a couple yards. What was it? He had 29 yards and limited carries. So they have, dude, it's Ohio State, guys. They have weapons everywhere, but if you're looking for one halfback name to remember, it's going to be, what can I remember it? It's going to be Mayan Williams in all seriousness. And then Master Teague, if you really want to be that football nerd and impress your friends over a couple beers, Master Teague was thought to be the guy before the season, so maybe he comes in, makes a couple plays, and you sound really cool to your friends, you know what I'm saying? At wideout, the Buckeyes have, again, it's week 1, but in the opening week, they found a trio of success or a trio of receivers who really dominated. Chris Olave led the group, 4 catches, 117 yards. Again, making that number up. Let's double check it. Oh, hell yeah. 4 catches, 117 yards, dude. I got that one. So he led the way, though, Chris Olave in the opener. They had 2 other big contributors. Garrett Wilson added 5 catches for 80 yards and 1 touchdown. And Travion Henderson added, the dude had 1 catch for 70 yards, so it speaks to his explosive nature. I didn't actually see the play, but I'm going to take a guess that it was some explosive one for 70 yards. So the Buckeyes essentially have 3 receivers. Chris Olave seems to be the best guy leading the group, but it's Ohio State, guys. Like, they're going to go 6, 7, 8, 9 deep and still be able to compete. These are just happen to be the names getting the touches this year. Quarterback will be the one real area that we got to wait and see. And yeah, why was that the weirdest transition? Because I'm talking about the offensive line, and maybe no one cares about the Buckeyes offensive line. But the Ducks fans actually should care. Like this is like one thing that maybe gives you a little bit of hope after, again, the Bulldogs game, which should freaking play better. Play better. All right, but Ohio State's offensive line, they have 2 of the best premier edge blockers in the nation and tackles, Thayer Munford and Nicholas Petit-Frere. That is a direct quote from Athlon, so don't sue me, Athlon. Just that one line. How do you reword premier edge blockers? So I'm going to get serious here for a second because I believe that up front controls the games here in football. Yeah, I seriously believe that football is usually one of the trenches, so I'm going to get serious here for a second. So, again, they really do have 2 really good premier edge blockers in the nation and tackles, Thayer Munford and Nicholas Petit-Frere. But one area where UO maybe will take advantage of Ohio State is on the interior of their offensive line. The Buckeyes lost an All-American in guard Wyatt Davis and center Josh Myers. So they lost 2 guys. Wyatt Davis was the All-American guard, and center Josh Myers was also a pivotal piece. So that's 2 big pieces in the middle of their rotation. So that could hurt them, and the Ducks may be able to capitalize. Maybe their defensive tackles able to find some seams there, stymie the rush attack, and that would really, really help, especially since they have a freshman quarterback in Stroud. His name is still CJ. So, it's just the same thing with Ohio State. They obviously have the talent, but the offensive line is, again, one of those areas like the quarterback where it may take a little bit longer to develop. So it does give you a little hope that these guys have limited experience. Minnesota's not Oregon. I've been clowning on the Ducks a little bit here, but they're still an amazing team. At least they won. Washington. You know what I'm saying? But to be dead serious, remember this for the offensive line. The Ducks really need to find a way to attack the middle. These guys are unproven, maybe proven a little bit, but they lost two very key, valuable pieces. And this is something that Oregon needs to take advantage of. And again, if you want to sound really cool in front of your friends, they lost. Who'd they lose? They lost guard Wyatt Davis, who was All-American, and center Josh Myers. And hopping over the defense, how long have we been talking for here? I've got other things on the agenda. 10 minutes! 10 minutes, guys! 10 minutes! And now my notes went nilly-willy. Alright, so as I pull my notes back up here, essentially, I'm going to talk about the Ohio State defense. I'm going to make it really short. I didn't realize to talk for 10 minutes about the Buckeyes, but again, this is the game of the year, guys. Probably give you more. I really kind of want to, but I'll keep the defense short here. Probably cut my notes a little bit shorter than planned. So, oh yeah, and if you're new to the show, I'll have you in and out in 25 minutes or less. I'm not here to waste your time, waste your day. I mean, you guys got lives, dude. I got lives. Like, you should, man, you got, I just know. I know how it is, guys, for real, so I'll keep it short. But with the Buckeyes defense, essentially up front, they're led by Haskell Garrett at the defensive tackle position. He's arguably the best player on their defense. So up front, they're going to have Haskell Garrett. And in 2020, this is a very big stat to remember. In 2020, Ohio State's rush defense only allowed 97.6 yards per game and 3.4 yards per attempt. 3.4 yards per attempt, that's really darn good. So that's going to be tough. I would like to see the Ducks maybe just hold their own, move the ball, maybe not expect big gains, but move the ball maybe 4 or 5 yards a pop. That'd be cool behind Verdell, maybe 1 or 2 explosive plays here or there. At linebacker, this is another one of those areas where the Buckeyes may be a little bit hurt, and it's because, why is it because, guys? Can you tell me why because? It's because they lost 3 starting linebackers from last year's team. So losing 3 starting linebackers should prove pretty hard. I mean, again, that's one of those things. Ohio State obviously is a talent. I don't want to say that again, but you know it. But losing 3, that may take a little bit to develop. So lost 3 starting linebackers, the Buckeyes. Again, something the Ducks may be able to find a little success on the ground, even with last year's statistics, maybe a little bit. And the one thing that you really need to know about the Buckeyes defense, if you want to remember one thing, I told you I'd keep it short. Look at my notes. Am I facing the camera, guys? I really don't know. I should probably check that. Shouldn't I? Let's see. I mean, not really, but whatever. We're going to keep going. So, essentially, the other thing that you need to look out for here is going to be, what is it, guys? Sorry. Got a little off track. I was like, am I in the camera? It threw me off there. All right, so, essentially, the other name to consider is going to be safety Josh Proctor. He's a hard hitter who adds level physicality from the safety position. And then they also have a very solid corner in Seven Banks. And I think before I got kind of rattled there, the main thing I did want to say is that Ohio State's pass defense was actually pretty bad last year. They allowed 304 yards per game, which is really surprising for Ohio State. That's pretty freaking terrible. So, again, if you want to remember one thing, the Buckeyes' pass defense was pretty bad last year, and it'd be cool to see them take advantage and move forward this year. Or, have the Ducks take advantage, and maybe there's enough holes on this Ohio State defense where the Ducks can really get it done. So that's going to do it. 14 minutes, guys. I've built up a sweat almost talking about those Ducks. Whew. Or Buckeyes, excuse me. Whoever we're talking about. And now, what are we on to here? I got to make it quick because I talked for 14 minutes about the game of the week. So for the Bruins, I just really want to recap essentially quickly how they've done this, how they've gotten off to a 2-0 start. Screw the notes here. Essentially, we were pleasantly surprised in their blowout victory against Hawaii. They essentially absolutely dominated, and that was really cool to see. But following that up with that just butt whipping of LSU, that's a game changer, guys. That's an absolute game changer, and Chip Kelly's arrived. He's made that statement. So how have they done it? If you guys haven't been watching the Bruins really carefully, this is how they've done it. This is how they've done it, guys. Essentially, they have 2 really good running backs, Zach Charbonnet and Britton Brown. Charbonnet's been the guy, though. He's since he's burst on the scene, he has been Mr. Everything for the Bruins. I mean, Dude, he ran over some of those Hawaii defenders, but he actually did the same thing against LSU, which was equally and maybe more impressive, definitely more impressive. So Charbonnet's burst on the scene again, the Michigan transfer, and could potentially land himself on the Heisman watch if he continues at this clip. His numbers have been absolutely ridiculous. He's averaging something like 10 yards a carry in the early season. Let's get you the exact stats here. But it's truly something like ridiculous. So in the first two matchups, in the first two games, he's rushed for 223 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging a whopping 13.1 yards a carry. That is ridiculous, guys. That is absolutely ridiculous. That's disgusting. And this type of physicality changes the Bruins entirely. Like, this type level of just being able to put pressure on the opponents, and safeties don't want to tackle this guy in the fourth quarter. And that's not to mention Britton Brown adding in another physical back behind him. So having this dual threat, it's just disgusting. And it looks like Chip Kelly, it looks like he knew what he was doing going to this pro-style offense, essentially. It looked like he finally found it at UCLA. Maybe it took a while for the recruits, the transfers, whatever it may be. That type of victory against LSU speaks margins. Margins wasn't the right word, but it speaks comets. It speaks meteors, maybe tigers, maybe lions or something. It was phenomenal. It was good to see, and it was in a week where the Pac-12 desperately needed it, because we've all been calling it a weird week. It wasn't a weird week. We sucked. The Pac-12 was the worst freaking conference, and it was embarrassing. Like, I'm mad, bro. They were bad. I was, excited to watch this year, and Washington just loses to Michigan, and Cal loses to Nevada, and WCU loses to one of the Utah schools that isn't Utah. And, all these losses add up, especially nationally. You're trying to rebuild a reputation. So what UCLA did, holding it down in the LA market alongside the Trojans, it was everything. It was everything. It was domination. It was against an SEC opponent, and they saved our face. A little bit. Yeah. Do I have anything else on them? That was off the notes. That's for damn sure. Let's see. I think I have a couple more stats for you guys on UCLA. Yeah, essentially, we already talked about Britton Brown. If you want to add in his rushing stats, it's going to be 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5.8 yards per carry. So he's doing a pretty good job. And one thing that I really want to make clear is that they may actually have the best duo of can I make it clear? They may actually have the best duo of halfbacks in the nation. That's crazy to say, but it may be true. I don't think they're the fastest, but in terms of the most physical, that's dangerous, man. And 4 quarters of that, teams are not going to want to play against that. The offensive line has been phenomenal too. They've been outstanding. So this combination, I'm not the biggest DTR guy. That hasn't necessarily changed. His completion rate's the name is Mr. CJ Stroud, not really completing his passes. But the line and running a game, and with this blitzing attack of Jerry Azzinaro, which is probably what I have next in my notes, this is a team that could really go places. And it's cool to see. It's just cool to see for the Pac-12 because the LA market owns everything. And to get it done against LSU, it was everything, guys. It was everything. Really everything. Other offensive notes here on the Bruins. Essentially, yeah, DTR is only completing 52.8% of his passes, which isn't cool. And only 8 receivers. Man, I'm just having a time with these notes today. Essentially, the receivers only have 8 total catches. So, it's not been pretty. It's a wide opposition. There's a lot to be desired outside of Kyle Phillips, and if you want to count tight end Greg Dulcich. So for the Bruins, that's pretty much it. I think I've been talking for a while. If you really want to quickly recap their defense, Jerry Azznaro's blitz scheme has been phenomenal through the first 2 games. He's really just put pressure on everyone. The opponent's quarterbacks appeared just timid, scared, frightful. They've looked out of rhythm, all sorts, and that's credit to Azzinaro. A lot of people in UCLA were clamoring for him to be fired out there in Westwood. They wanted him gone. And hey, maybe he knew what he was doing all along. That's just what it is. And him and Chip Kelly, very similar stories in regards to the last couple of years. People doubted them. They wanted them out of town. They gave up on them. They quit on them. And sure enough, right now, they're the only Pac-12 saving grace. The reason I can respectfully looking from that freaking banner, that point in the right direction, I don't know. But guys, thank God for UCLA this past week because it could have been bad. If I have anything else in UCLA, I don't really care anymore. I do care. I'm actually like really freaking happy they won. Do I have anything else on them though that I think is notable? Just no, I think that's about it. Essentially, this could be their first winning season in about 6 years, and it'd be cool to see again in the LA market. And I don't, I don't really like DTR as a quarterback, but I really want to see him play better because his dual threat ability is everything. I mean, if he can really just complete passes at a higher percentage, he could really take over, and that'd just be marvelous to see. I mean, I really think DTR has it in him. He just hasn't shown it to me, and I'm not going to just give him credit for no reason. So I want to see more from DTR. But UCLA again, great hot start, and now we are off to Bartlett's random topic of the day. Let's shut out the notes. I've been having fun with these guys. Goodbye. Okay, hello. So that was a funny introduction for kind of a little bit serious of a topic. I'll keep it short. Again, it's 21 minutes we're in here. But I just want to say Bartlett's random topic of the day. My cousin, and I won't say his name because he was never about that type of stuff, passed away about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and we're doing the wake or party for him this week, whatever you want to call it. And he was a huge ASU fan, went to ASU, so I just want to say my respect to him. Again, I won't say his name. He would have hated it. He was probably the funnest guy to have beers with, and yeah, he's probably the funnest guy ever to have beers with. So yeah, that's been on my mind all week, and I just want to say for all you ASU guys out there, ASU gals out there may be a reputation. I'm sure a lot of you studied hard and got good grades and did your thing in college. And my cousin did too. He was actually a very successful before his unfortunate passing, financially, spiritually, emotionally, all those sort of things. But ASU boy, man, those boys be partying, those girls be partying, man. Like they be getting it in, dog. Like I remember I went to WCL. I think I probably told this story. We had 22 minutes. We got a little time. I think I told this story on my podcast before we switched over to the YouTube format. And essentially, like, I remember one time we were just freaking drinking. We were pounding brews, bro. We were pounding them, like, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, it's college, man. It's college. And so I'm WC. I'm feeling good. Hey, feeling myself. You know what I'm saying? And like, all of a sudden, like, I think, man, he got some, like, Imperial IPA outburst. I don't know the exact name of it, the brand. You guys could probably find it. And I had, like, 3 or 4 of those, or maybe even 5. I'm not going to lie. Maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe 8. And I was smashed, bro. I still, like, a plate of spaghetti on me. And I'm like, bro, I need, like, sleep. Like, this is it. Like, my cousin's, like, ready to go out to the bar. He's just looking at me super composed. Like, yo, can we get an Uber and go? I'm like, dude, like, what do you mean? Like, we're gonna party now? So, just respect to the ASU party game. They really held it down. At least my cousin did. Sun Devils Nation, you lost one a couple years ago. Nothing but love, and I'll just keep it short because he wouldn't even want me to waste your time with this, but out of respect, I gotta say it. Probably for my own healing, I gotta say it. So, yeah. Thank you guys for listening to that. I'm gonna come with a darn funny one. It's been 2 weeks. Oh, that's only 2 weeks. I act like it's a big deal. 2 weeks, guys. So thank you for tuning in as always. Concluding and summarizing today's episode, essentially we talked about Oregon and Ohio State, and off the top of my head here, the Buckeyes have C.J. Stroud at quarterback. He essentially is a freshman, did pretty solid in the opener against Minnesota, but did not complete a high clip of passes, something around 59%. And we're at 24 minutes, so I got 1 minute to tell you about Ohio State and the rest of the game. So essentially, talked about Ohio State. Their quarterback, yeah, C.J. Stroud, low completion percentage, but good all around. Halfback, they got 2 really decent options. They got a trio wideouts led by Chris Olave, and they're pretty dominant from top to bottom. Offensive line, they have a little bit of weakness in their middle, and that's about it on their offense. On defense, they're replacing 3 new linebackers. They have a D tackle who's essentially arguably their best player, and their secondary allowed 304 pass yards per game. So if you're Ducks fans, 3 things to remember. You want to attack their secondary, pressure their quarterback, and just hope for a miracle, for real. So that's essentially what we talked about our show. We also broke down UCLA's hot start and essentially how they saved the face of the conference last week, and how Charbonnet absolutely is having phenomenal performances to open the year, and Britton Brown's a hell of a combination duo back complements him as well. And then I said RIP to my cousin, ASU Sun Devil alum, and he probably drank me under the table more than once. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. All you Pac-12 teams, go win some games. Go win some games. I'm pissed. I'm still sweaty. Let's go. Win some games. I'm out, baby. All right. All right. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Love you all. And man, I hate people when people say love you all. All right, guys. Seriously though, thank you guys for tuning in as always. And hummus and olive oil.